Hi guys, it's Jess from Honest Fiction and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing my most anticipated fall fantasy releases. Alright guys, so I have 9 fantasy books on this list that are releasing in September and October that I am so looking forward to reading. So I was going to do a video that included fantasy and romance, but that was just going to be way too many books, so I'm going to be doing a separate romance anticipated release video coming out probably next week. So if you're unfamiliar with my channel, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. You can also hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I post new bookish content. You can also check out my Instagram and Goodreads, both linked down below. With all that out of the way, let's talk about the books that are coming out over the next 2 months. Alright, so I'm going to be sorting this by release date, and we're going to be starting off with a very special day. So a lot of these books are releasing on September 27th. And for those of you who don't know, that is my birthday. So I'm just super jazzed that a lot of books I've been looking forward to reading are releasing on that day. I'm probably the only one that cares, but still, very exciting. So the first book I'm going to talk about is One Dark Window, and this is a dark gothic YA fantasy following a maiden, and she feels like she is plagued by this monster that is living inside her. It protects her, it keeps her secrets, but also it's kind of a pain dealing with it. So one day when she is running away, she ends up meeting the king's nephew, who has turned traitor and is now leading this group of highwaymen. And they end up banding together to try to stop this dark magic that is taking over the kingdom. And I've had this book on my radar for a while. I'm very much looking forward to reading it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be Fairyloot's October YA pick, but we will see. But anyway, that is a book I just cannot wait to read. And another book that is releasing on September 27th is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. So this is described as a very atmospheric story, and considering this is written by the same woman that wrote Fable, I am sure it is going to be absolutely beautiful and dark and immersive. So we are following this girl, and her best friend ended up being killed by the love of her life when they are teenagers. So she ends up growing up in this isolated seaside town, and eventually her ex-boyfriend comes back home to bury his mother. And when he gets there, the entire town does not want him there. And then soon dark things start happening. The wood starts to decay and rot that is surrounding this community, and secrets start coming out about what actually happened that night. And it just sounds like it's going to be absolutely amazing. So I was actually thinking about doing a vlog where I read books that release on my birthday, and I think this will definitely be one of those books because like I said, I really enjoyed Fable. It was just the perfect summer book, and I just feel like this is going to be just as good, but for the fall. So I will definitely be reading this the day it releases. All right, yet another book that is releasing on September 27th is House of the Hunger, and this is by Alexis Henderson. So this is the same author that wrote Year of the Witching, which is one of my absolute favorite witchy books. It's both really creepy but also super empowering. So I am very much looking forward to this. This is following a girl that lives a very impoverished life, and she sees an ad that is asking for a blood maid, and this is in the far north, and she's not very familiar with it. So she ends up going there, she gets hired right away, and she becomes one of the favorite blood maids of this countess. And then things start to kind of go awry where other blood maids start to go missing, and now she has to solve the mystery of what is happening. So I'm pretty sure this is a vampire story. I think the blood maids are used their blood is sucked, and it should be interesting, but it just sounds really cool. It sounds like something I would absolutely love to read in the fall, so I'm very much looking forward to picking it up, and that will also be one of the books that is read during that vlog. All right, and the last book that is releasing on September 27th is Kingdom of the Feared. So this is the third book in the Kingdom of the Wicked series by Kerri Maniscalco. So the first book is YA, but as you progress through the books, they become NA. They definitely get spicier as you go. So I can't talk very much about Kingdom of the Feared because of spoilers. So Kingdom of the Wicked is following Amelia, and in the very beginning of the story, something happens and a murder ends up taking place. So Amelia is a witch, and she realizes that someone in her community is targeting witches. So she is trying to figure out who is doing this, and she's kind of at a stalemate. So she ends up summoning who she thinks is a demon from hell. So instead of summoning a demon, she actually summons one of the crowned prince of hell, Roth. They're kind of based off the 7 deadly sins. And witches and princes of hell do not get along, so this is very much like enemies to lovers, but they end up having to work together to figure out who is targeting witches, and it goes from there. So the first book does have a little bit of a romance, and then the second book kind of really drives it home, and the second book ended with a very shocking revelation. So I have been waiting to read Kingdom of the Feared for a very long time, so I am so excited to jump into that book when it is released. And this next book is more of a horror. It is releasing October 4th, and it's called It Rides a Pale Horse. So this book just sounds super creepy and eerie and perfect to read in the fall. It is following these two siblings. So the boy Lark ends up moving to the big city where he becomes a famous painter, and then he moves back home to live with his sister Betsy. So one day, Lark is selling his paintings, and he goes to this very wealthy buyer, and the guard shows him a video of his sister being abducted. So the wealthy buyer says, if you follow all the instructions in this journal or this book, then I will let your sister go unharmed. So as soon as Lark starts doing this, he realizes that there is something up with this book. It might be demonic. All of the people are starting to change, and I just cannot wait to read it. So this was compared to The Girl with All the Gifts, and that has to do with like zombies. So I feel like that might be what the people are like changing into. And I want to read this like blurb. It says, dark and fascinating, not quite like anything I've read before, a strange, compelling late night page turner. It kept me reading way past bedtime. So in the fall, I really like reading horror and thrillers. I don't do it too much like any other time of year, but this just sounds so good. And the next two books are releasing on October 18th. So first up, we have Poster Girl by Veronica Roth. So this is described as an adult, dark, dystopian story, and we are following Sonia, who is the poster child for this very controlling regime. So in this community, people are under surveillance 24/7. They are implanted with chips that like monitor their movements, and this regime is known as the delegation. So the delegation ends up being overthrown, and the poster girl, Sonia, ends up being put in jail. So 10 years goes by, and then a person in the current regime asks Sonia for her help. There is a girl that has gone missing, and if Sonia can find this missing girl, she will be granted her freedom. So this is kind of like a dystopian murder mystery, and I just cannot wait to read it. People are talking about how the prose are just very beautiful, and it's a very fun story. And it has been a while since I've read a dystopian I really enjoyed. It's actually been a while since I've read a dystopian in general, so I'm very much looking forward to picking it up. All right, so this next fantasy that is releasing on October 18th is a YA fantasy that I just keep seeing everywhere. I actually don't know very much about it. So it is Night of the Raven, Dawn of the Dove. So what I gathered from reading the synopsis on Goodreads is we are following this girl that has been raised her entire life to be the guardian and protector of a prince. And then something happens and she is betrayed, and now she kind of has to find herself. So the tagline was, to learn what she can become, she must first discover who she is. And like I've said, I've just seen people talking about this everywhere on Bookstagram, on BookTube, and I'm very curious. Judging by some of the reviews, a lot of people have talked about how it is a YA fantasy that is very political, it's also very fast-paced, and it is full of very fun characters, so I cannot wait to jump into it. Alright guys, so the next book is releasing on October 25th, and this is my sixth take of trying to say this name correctly. So the Atlas Paradox Did It is going to be releasing. That is the sequel to the Atlas 6. Oh my gosh, I don't know why I could not say that word. So I have a full book review of the Atlas 6, I believe, in the cards and in the description. I really enjoyed it. It was very much hyped on TikTok. So it is following these 5 young academics, and they are all competing to be part of this secret society that become the caretakers of the Library of Alexandria. So this is a very character-driven story. I feel like people on TikTok were kind of saying it's like spicy fantasy romance. It is not. I think there's like 2 like small spicy scenes, but we're really just following these characters, and they are the highlight of the book. I loved the characters and hated them in equal measure. Like, they are all so perfectly morally gray that you get so frustrated with them, but you also just want the best for them, and I really enjoyed it. And the end of the Atlas 6 ended with a very shocking kind of twist, so I'm very much looking forward to reading the sequel. And last up is a fantasy romance book that is releasing on October 28th, and that is Unbroken Bonds, and this is the 6th and final book in the Bonds That Tie series. So for those of you who follow me, you know I'm only on book 3 of the Bonds That Tie series. Unfortunately, the rest of the audio hasn't been released yet, only the first 3 books have been, and I really love the narration. So I probably won't read this book when it actually comes out, I'll wait for the audio. But for those of you who are unfamiliar with the Bonds That Tie series, it is a reverse harem fantasy romance series following Ollie, and in her world, people have bonded mates, and when you bond with these mates, your power actually increases. So in the very beginning of the story, Ollie is driving with her mother and her 3 bonded mates, and there ends up being a car accident, and everyone dies except for Ollie, and instead of going back to be with her bonded mates, Ollie ends up fleeing and running, which really upset her bonded. So they end up trying to track her down. They eventually find her and they bring her back, and when they do, no one is happy. So this is very much an enemies to lovers story, and it's completely addicting, and honestly, it's killing me not reading the 4th one. I tried reading it on my Kindle, but like the narrators, they just did such a good job. So I cannot wait to read this. Hopefully, cross your fingers, the audio is released soon. All right, guys, that's it for my September and October anticipated releases. I am positive I missed some fantasy books, so please let me know down in the comments below what book are you most looking forward to reading. And I said this already, I post new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. I will see you all next week. Bye.